Yes, it is my honor and pleasure to be hanging out with Randy Huggins. K Foxx, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. You got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I know you do, but thank you. I appreciate the time.
It's all good. I'm so happy to be here. We've been trying to do this for a minute. So
yeah.
to actually set this up and make it happen, I'm very, very happy.
Last time I spoke to you, I interviewed you for Rebel. That was what, back in 2017?
Was it? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like that, 17, 16. But yeah, that was like the first show running job that I had. And I did that with John Singleton, you know, who was like my big brother mentor.
Yeah.
So that was an awesome experience, because what was dope about Rebel is like, now if you look at Danielle Monet Truitt, who stars on Law and Order like Criminal Intent, and then if you look at Malcolm Mays, who stars on like Kanan, and then if you look at Natasha Gray, who's like doing Kanan as well, a writer, and then if you look at myself, we're all like, and Dallas Jackson, who's doing big movies now. So if you look at that, we're all from the tree of John Singleton, as well as a lot of big directors like Jeff Berg, Carl Seaton, Sally Richardson. So it's just really fitting to see the success that we're all kind of having. And we all came from that John Singleton tree. You know what I mean?
The seeds that he planted. What was something that you learned and that you use to this day from the late, great John Singleton?
Yeah, like I remember one night.
The late, great.
Yeah, I remember one night, John and I were up working on the script. And it was like, we did an all-nighter. And we both were just taking turns, just like, nah. And like, I see him, and then he'll wake up and he would say, whatever it takes. You know what I mean? So I still subscribe to that. Whatever it takes to make the project better, that's what it's about. It's not about my ego. It's not about, you know, my feelings. It really is about this product. And we're trying to make, you know, TV shows and things that elevate the landscape of TV, not just from an African-American standpoint, but from a universal standpoint, written and created, and a lot of times starring African-Americans. But, you know, we try to create universal stories that can touch everybody's heart, soul, and mind.
I love that. So fast forward, Rebel, I mean, the quad, the shields. I mean, your resume is very impressive, So we can talk about everything that you've done. But right now, the show that everybody's raving about, the BMF series, is crazy. You know, I binge watched it. I mean, it just sets me back. The music, first of all, can we talk about the music and the fashion?
Come on, man.
I mean,
that's
why diversity and inclusion is so important in our industry, because who else could do this but you?
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
well, I am from Detroit, so let me preface that. And you know, it's interesting because I was working on Power. I worked on Power the first 3 seasons, and I remember I used to write a lot for 50s character. So I wrote the episode that introduced Jukebox, you know what I mean, who was Anika Noni Rose. And he was on that set.
She was cold-blooded.
She killed it. That's my girl.
Cold-blooded.
Who also killed it with me on The Quiet. But on that particular episode, what was dope, 50 told me I just got the BMF rights. And I'm about to lead a show. So I'm thinking he knows I'm leaving, and he's telling me because he wants me to write it. But he wasn't. He was just, you know, shooting the breeze with me. So then I lead a show, and he gets 2 other writers to do it. And, you know, they did what they did, and it didn't work out. And I went on to, you know, do Rebel, The Quiet, and Star with Lee Daniels, you know what I mean? And Latifah, Queen Latifah.
Legends.
You know what I mean? And I did that for 2 years. And then 50 called me. And he like, yo, you want to do BMF? And I'm like, hell yeah. So he puts me on the phone with Meech. You know what I mean? So I started talking to Meech like every day, and I go see him like 3 or 4 times in prison. And one of the first things he said to me is he was like, everybody know the story about these 2 brothers from Detroit that went to Atlanta and started getting money. And he was like, but I don't want to tell that story. I want to tell the origin story. We from Detroit, and we grew up in a 2-parent household that was very much backdropped in Christianity. So to be able to have that opportunity, that's very similar to my background. And to be able to tell a 1980s Detroit story, that's me as well.
Because you were living through this. You were living, you were witnessing
100%,
it.
Yeah. 100%. Now listen, I wasn't wearing the fashion because my mama wasn't buying that, but I knew what they were wearing. And of course, all the music. I mean, really, what this series was for me, it was really a love letter to Detroit. You know what I mean? Because people don't know about the culture of Detroit. They think all the time, oh, Motown and Eminem. And I'm like, no, but also techno music. I mean, like people think techno music is from Europe. And I'm like, nah, that was 3 Black dudes coming out of Detroit.
Detroit, Chicago, New York.
Yeah. No, I'm saying techno, but yeah, okay. You got house coming out of Chicago and New York.
Yes.
But I'm saying very much the techno, that's, you know, Juan Atkins, Derek May, and Kevin Saunderson, you know what I mean? And a couple other cats. So to be able to highlight that and highlight my city, like Detroit, we have our own culture. We don't say, hey, how are you? We say, what up, though? You know what I mean? We don't drink soda. We drink pop. We don't wear sneakers or tennis shoes. We wear gym shoes. So to be able to highlight all of that, you don't see that a lot because typically you see New York or LA. That's what they show you, especially in gangster. So to be able to really bring the Midwest into the mix, specifically the city of Detroit, that was an opportunity I couldn't help but jump at.
One thing I did notice, I didn't realize how much New York hip hop really influenced. I mean, because it was one of the first places that it originated, but you see the influx of all the infusion of the music kind of come together, which 100%. Was beautiful for me watching the series. You see the R&B music, you hear the techno when they go to the discos, you hear all of the R&B love songs, 100%. You know? So I love it. And the fashion, talk to me about that, because the glasses.
I mean, like my secret weapons would probably be my costume designer, Kia Bounds, my production designer, because the sets were incredible, Catherine Eder, and then my cinematographer, Mr. Timothy A. Burton, because he established a look of the show. Like when you're coming on a network that Power has existed on, and they've got all these different powers, you have to like stand in your own lane. Yes. So we wanted to create our own visual language. And Tim was very instrumental, as well as Tasha Smith, who directed the pilot and 2 other episodes, and who also was an executive producer on this. They were instrumental in creating that visual language.
So talk to me about how did you and 50 even connect in the first place?
I mean, I worked on Power. I worked on the first 3 seasons of Power.
Yes, but so, I mean, before that, was it already a rapport? Or was it just kind of like
Power? Okay. I met him at Courtney's house on Power. Like, and we kind of, I mean, we're kind of like, I think I'm older by like 2 or 3 years or something, but we're in the same age bracket, you know, and we just sort of hit it off instantly. And then like his character on Power, his name is Kanan, but my best friend in life, his name is Kamen. So we named him, and then Courtney, you know, was like, let's flip it. And she put Kanan on there. So I used to write a lot for him. So I used to spend a lot of time with him. And, you know, when he got this project and gave me a call, I mean,
after the other ones didn't work out, you was like, that ain't gonna be nice. It's coming to me anyway.
But you know what's dope about this project is everybody in this project was the right person at the right time.
Good.
Like, so I wasn't the first writer, but I was the right writer. Tasha wasn't even the first pilot director we had. We had somebody else, but she was the right pilot director. And then when you even speak about casting, like Little Meech wasn't my first selection. You know what I mean? That was 50s, but he ended up being the right selection. So I think,
man, he's doing a killer job. Like, he's a spitting image of Meech first and foremost, but then just like the aura, the energy. I mean, I was down here in Miami when they was running Miami, the last leg of BMF. So I saw how he moved out here, you know, popping bottles, buying out bars, all of them. So, I mean, it was the right casting. You're absolutely right.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I think all across the board, our casting is just like, that's the thing that makes this show, for me, and I know this is a very subjective statement, but for me, that's the best thing about our show, our casting. I mean, I'm not going to even mention Eric Kofi Abreva. You know what I mean? I'm not going to even mention how the fact that one scene has really brought loose ends back. Like nobody was talking about.
You can't stop the rain. No, let me tell you, he's playing crazy. Lamar's playing, in case people don't connect the character to his actor name. Lamar, he got crazy down pat. Like he got it down pat. I want to know the creative inspiration for that scene, because I wanted to get there, but we're already there. So when he kills his best friend Slick, right? You feel like something's about to happen. Slick's already about to get out of town. And he's there playing a video game, calm. It's the calmness that makes me afraid.
100%.
And the singing.
100%.
How, talk to me about this. Talk to me.
So I mean, you know, first of all, once Slick kind of like gave up where the drugs were, you know, his days were kind of like numbered. And what happened was we were shooting on another set, and it was Meech, it was Cash Doll, it was myself.
She's doing a great job too. Love Cash Doll. I was like, she's killing.
I had to I'm gonna speak on her in 1 second.
Okay.
So we were all in the house, and I was in the other room working on a scene, doing some notes on a scene, and I heard this voice. And I was like, oh my God. And I came in there and they kept egging him to go on. And I saw it was Eric. And I was like, that's you? And he was like, yeah. And he just kept singing. And I was like, you know what? You about to lullaby somebody to sleep. You know what I mean? Now, listen, again, I'm an 80s baby. So 85, I was in 8th grade. And I know how big that song was in Detroit. You know what I mean? We talking about, like, people think the British invasion really became Black British invasion with R&B was really soul to soul. It was loose ends, like, you know, like 6-7 years before. So it really gave me the opportunity to highlight one of my favorite groups of all time, and Kofi, and then more specifically, Miles Bullock killed it. You know what I mean? He killed it as Slick. So it just, all the stars aligned. We had Eve Rivera directed, and all the stars aligned.
Like, can we talk about Snoop? Like, how perfect? Every time, I can't take him seriously though. What's his name? Pastor Swift. Yes, yeah. That's a perfect character, perfect name. And I just, every time he comes on screen, I just laugh. Like,
he's doing a phenomenal job. But I had to learn. Snoop is a.
He can do no wrong.
I mean, he's a phenomenal person. I'm talking about the man, first of all.
Okay.
Because my mom's not doing well, and when that first happened, he reached out to me directly. And he reached out to me about the show, and I told him I'm here. And he was like, forget the show. I think God sent me to call you to give you this message. And he gave me this inspirational message, which was fantastic. So, and then I didn't know how much of a comedian he is. All day long, he's cracking jokes and making everybody laugh. But what I really did find out is how serious he takes acting. You know what I mean? But I got to tell you, it was very interesting because when they showed up, they're like, hey, you got to meet the creator, Randy Huggins. And, you know, they bring him down. And the first thing, so I'm like, hi, I'm Randy Huggins. And the first thing he says out of his mouth is, where the chronic at? And I'm like, hey, man, you know, we're not going to run this kind of, you know, no, this is going to be a business. And what I discovered was you want him to smoke chronic because the more he smokes, he can remember everything verbatim, not just his lines, your lines, the whole everything. But when he doesn't smoke and he needs that hit, he'll stumble and fumble over stuff. So he got to a point where I was like, hey, man, time out, cut. Let's get Snoop his break so he can
give him his medicine. He needs his medicine.
Yeah, he was fantastic. I mean, and you know, that role was originally written for 50. You know what I mean?
50 was supposed to play the pastor?
Yes, we were like, we want 50 in it. What could he do? Well, we don't want to see him as a gang. Let's see something he's never done. They were like, let's make 50 a pastor. Oh, that's dope. That's dope. That's dope. And then 50, he egged me on. I gotta give him trouble for this. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And he waited right up to the dance. Like, yeah, I ain't doing it. But I know somebody who's better. And then he said Snoop, and that was a concern for me because Snoop's hair comes down to his behind. So we had to really, and our hair person, Missy, you know, she came up with this wig to put all them dreads in because people wasn't rocking dreads in like 85, 86. So they came up with the look, and Snoop loved it and just personified that character.
I mean, it's perfect. I'm bravo to that. But I really love the fact that the series doesn't just focus on the brothers as being these vicious drug dealing gangsters. It focuses on, like you said before, their household, their relationship with their mom and dad, their relationship when they're going to school, what they wanted to do, their ambitions. And 100%. I think it's a love story. Like you said, it's a love letter to Detroit. It's a love story. So I really love the fact that you brought that out and it shows.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, this isn't a show about drug dealers. It's a show about family. It's a show about brotherhood. It's a show about love, because all those principles that they learned in their family, you know what I mean? What was dope was that they created that in their street family, you know what I mean? Which is why they're still so revered to this day. You know what I mean? So I felt it was important to highlight that, as well as it's a universal story. You know what I mean? Everybody has a kid who didn't do something you wanted them to do. Nobody wants their kid to wind up smoking, but you wind up and you like, man, my son smokes. You know what I mean? And then you have to figure out a way to deal with that, because both of you still have to coexist, even though you don't like everything they do. And you hope that over the long term, you know, something you've said can bring them back toward the tree. You know what I mean?
So I pay attention to detail, and within their relationships with the different ladies that they was kicking it with, I noticed they always downplayed cunnilingus. Was this really a thing going on in Detroit? Was nobody eating the box? Like, was this not a thing happening?
No. I'm gonna tell you. I mean, that's more dramatic, me adding dramatic stuff in my life. But I'm saying,
okay, because I'm like, what's going on out here?
No, but it was.
But they not performing.
No, but I'm saying, when you were growing up and you be hanging on a corner, they'd be like, nah, don't pass him the brew. He be going down. And like, people would be like, nah, don't pass him. He be going down. So that was a thing. Like, people like, nah, I heard he be going down. You know what I mean? And then it wasn't until you got older, probably like 17, 18. I remember I was talking to my best friend, Cayman, and I was like, whatever. And he was like, man, I've been doing that. And I hadn't. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh, I've been doing it. Couldn't wait to do it. So to play that.
So, but when he was doing it, he wasn't bragging about it.
He wasn't telling. No, he wasn't. He was still out here cracking jokes like, nah, don't pass him.
He was fronting is what he was doing.
Yeah. So it was a lot of that going on in that time. And I really wanted to be able to speak to that. Because I think in the 80s, that was a thing. Like in the 80s, you got to understand, life was a little slower. You know what I mean? Like you would watch TV back then and you see two people get up, hold hands, and walk to the bedroom, and you knew what they were doing on TV. You're like, okay, I know what just happened. Well, now in 2022, you know, people are like, hey man, are they really having sex on your TV show? And I'm like, no, they're not. So it was an opportunity for me to really get into that time period. The same way we get into the time period with the music and with the clothes. A lot of the crazy things that were going on amongst teenagers during that time, I wanted to highlight.
Yes. Now let's talk about everything that's happening now. I know. Well, first of all, let me rewind a second. I want to big you up for going to Grambling. Okay, HBCU.
All day.
HBCU.
All day.
I went to Shaw U, so right that you went to Grambling, but here we are. We're products of the HBCU, and here we are. So I'm gonna give you your props. But we're in the middle of another possible outbreak of the Black people call it the Omarion. Well, I don't know why we're doing Omarion like that, but the Omicron, the Rona, all of that. How has that been like? What's been going on? What's your mental like? How are you dealing? How are you?
I'm fine. I'm very busy. I'm trying to stay out the way. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I came home to Detroit for the holidays, and it was one of those things where you get home and somebody's like, yo, let's go out. And you like, bet, let's go out. And we went out, and I remember we were in a space, and my man was just shaking everybody's hand and hugging them and kissing them. And I just took a look around, and he like handed me a glass, like, here go your drink. And I was just like, nah, I'm drinking a beer. And like, so you just have to be careful. But I mean, I'm vaxxed, I'm boosted. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not trying to go out here and be stupid, but I'm also not just going to live in the house. Like, I'm not going back to 2020 when it first happened, or whatever year it first happened, and everybody was on lockdown. Remember, you wouldn't even let people in your house, your family.
You was even afraid to put groceries in your house with the plastic bags. Like
you had to wipe it down. You was wiping on. I'm still wiping that down. But I'm just saying, I remember like people knocking at my door, and I'm like, what you want? And they like, dog, I just came to kick. Nah, man, you can't. No. So I don't want to go back to those days. So I try to be just smart ahead of time and just protect myself as best I can, and not just be reckless. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to stay out the way. Yeah. And, you know, but again, you know, still enjoy my life.
How's that affecting upcoming projects that you have now?
Well, you have to understand, we shot BMF. This is another, you know, crazy story. We shot BMF before vaccines. So we shot BMF when you were taking like 3 or 4 tests a week. You know what I mean? So we shot BMF. You had to go home. You could just go to work and you had to go home. There was no going to restaurants. It was no whatever. That was the creation of this whole Zoom movement. You know what I mean? So, and that was very difficult. given the fact you got a lot of young actors who are in their 20s, who some of these people, this is their first big role. So they getting money, they in Atlanta, and you gotta go home.
They ready to get it popping, yeah.
I mean, that was very difficult because Atlanta never shut down. Atlanta like Detroit now. Detroit is out here like, ain't nothing out here. We still out here. So
Miami too.
Imagine trying to shoot a show and get people to be responsible. And a testament to my cast, most of them were pretty responsible, and we went all the way through the entire season. And on the night before the last day, I told my line producer, we did it. Because it was shows getting shut down. I was like, we did it. We didn't even get shut down. We did it. And the next morning I woke up, they told me we had a case and we had to shut the production down for 2 weeks. So we were able to get it, but it just means everybody has to be a bit more responsible.
Yeah, for sure. Season 2. I'm excited. Talk to me. What's happening? When can we expect it? What's going on? BMF.
We're writing right now. I'm actually about to put out episode 6 tonight. That was written by Kirkland Morris. It's a fantastic script. But first of all, I think in season 1, I had the dopest writer's room. And my number 2, her name was Terry Cott, right? And my name is Randy Demetrius Huggins. So Demetrius and Terry were writing the show. We're writing a show about Demetrius and Terry Flannery. Like, the irony in that is just crazy. My middle name is Demetrius. Her name is Terry. And we're writing about Demetrius and Terry.
I'm here with you now.
Right. So that's what I mean. Like, this whole thing was bigger than me. It was kind of like
Kismet.
This cosmic creation. It was, so season 2.
It's so good. It's so good.
Well,
it's really good. Like, only because it's authentic. Yeah. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel fake. It's not something where you can like question, because you know what I mean? It's about culture and the experience, and it's unique in that way. So yeah, it's so good. You can't front on it.
So season 2, the word that I'm using when I interview directors and other production members is I am saying to them, season 2, the word is elevate. So forget what we did season 1. I'm trying to elevate it and take it to the next level. I'm not trying to duplicate. I'm trying to grab people by their throats and not let them go and just stay in their seat and throw things at the TV and text their friend, did you see what he just did? You know what I mean? So that's what we're trying to do. And I think the writing will be elevated. The acting will be elevated. The cinematography will be elevated. The production design will be elevated. And we know the toy is going to be elevated because they're going to start expanding a little bit and getting outside of Detroit. So that's something we're really looking forward to.
Now, after the viral moment with Lamar, You Can't Stop the Rain, Loose Ends, a lot of people were asking for maybe a Lamar spinoff. I'm asking for the people, damn. I don't know. That
remains to be seen. But I can tell you what I loved about this show that I've never experienced 21 years in a game on any other show. The way social media, the memes on social media went crazy on this show, it was just ridiculous. And what's really crazy is they really blazed my man, Russell Hornsby. Like they kept, I was talking on an interview with Russell earlier, like, and they were like, the only Black man in America who had all his bills paid. And then like anything they seen with Russell's face on it, like somebody went to his Instagram and took a Disneyland picture where he with his kids with a Mickey Mouse hat on. And they said, he got Terry money down at this, like just, so like the amount of that, the amount of TikTok and Instagram and all of that, it was just special. And that's how you know you really are sort of touching the culture. And then when you heard the fabulous Dave East remix of You Can't Stop the Rain, you know, that's when you know you really are starting to touch some people in the culture. And we're trying to expand that and touch even more people and make the story more appealing and more universal for everybody around the world, not just the United States. You know what I mean? Eric Kofi Abriva is from London.
Yes.
people don't even realize that. But
yeah, I've seen him in plenty of things, and I was like, oh wow, this is really a different type of role for him. I haven't seen him in the crazy eyes role, but he's killing it. You know, he killed it. So I loved everything about it. So Grambling State's own Randy, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm so ready for season 2, BMF, and every other project you have in the works right now. Can we talk a little bit about anything else? I know that Snoop Dogg and 50 were teaming up for Murder Was the Case. Is that something that you're working on as well? Okay. Okay.
I mean, obviously I have outside passion projects, but right now my whole soul, not my focus, my whole soul is BMF, to come back and make this bigger and better, you know what I mean, and more entertaining and more authentic, you know what I mean? I mean, like, here's one of the things people don't really realize is, like, I got the game from Meech, but there was a big portion of this where Meech kind of like got locked up in solitary, you know what I mean? So I couldn't talk to him, and I hadn't even connected with Terry until that point. So I still had to crank out drafts. So yes, it's based in, you know what I mean? It's loosely based in the truth, but some of it was like getting more outside. But now me and this brother got a system that's working so cool and so dope. And not to mention that, I've also connected with Terry, and I've connected with Miss Flannery and Nicole Flannery. So I think that, you know, people could just expect to jump out their seats. I mean, like, literally, I'm not even joking. It's that exciting, season 2. And music wise, we going there. I mean, we going there. And what's dope that you spoke about the 80s, I think in season 1, you got a little bit of New York hip hop, but season 2, like, you're going to get more of that. Because here's what's really interesting to me is that before Video Soul and what's my man, Video Jukebox,
Video Music Box.
Yeah, Video Music Box.
Yeah.
Music used to be sort of segregated, like, you know, different regions. DC had go-go, Detroit had techno, Chicago had house, New York had hip hop, LA had whatever they were, you know, that hip hop. But then I think with the advent of videos, and then it just kind of, it didn't matter where you was from. Everybody was listening to everybody. So that's what was special about really being able to do season 1. And season 2, you know, Meech has already gave me a list of songs. You got to play this. Because when I was riding down here, this is what you got to play. Big Mike from New Orleans, who was coming out of Houston. So we're going to get into all of that. And that's what I'm most excited about this series, is that as we watch the brothers grow from Detroit to Atlanta to St. Louis to New York to California to Texas, we're going to go on a musical exploration with them. So I'm very excited, and I can't wait till your fans, you know, check this out. It's going to be—
I can't wait either. This might be a crazy question. I don't know if you're able to coordinate this, but who's doing the voiceover as Big Meech? Whose voice is that?
That is John Chafer.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
Who, when the show opens up and when it ends, it's older Meech. So that's like what our show is our show is The Wonder Years meets Snowfall, set in 1980s Detroit. So it's a 35-year-old man who is now locked up, looking back over all the changes that he's made, of all the decisions he's made over his life. You know what I mean? So we're hearing his voice from a 35-year-old man. And I'm gonna do something real special in season 2. Just gonna flip people. But I don't want to say it right now. But it's gonna be dope.
Oh, how you gonna leave me like that, man? How you gonna leave me like that? So I guess we're gonna have to wait. Okay.
I just say this. It was more than one voice to help build this world. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. We ready? Season 2. Black Mafia Family, BMF. The world is BMF. I'm ready. Randy Huggins, thank you so much for taking the time out. Represent HBCU, Grambling, and all that good stuff. Okay. And I guess we gotta wait. Any time frame that we can look out for? Or we just
well, we start shooting in February 28th. So hopefully we can stay on the same time span where we're on this year, like fall. But you know, we're doing, here's something for your audience. We're doing 2 more episodes this year. So we're not doing 8, we're doing 10. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's going to require us to shoot a little longer. So we'll see when we drop. But I'll tell you what, we ain't going to drop until we're ready to drop. And when we're ready to drop, it's going to be fire hot. You know what I mean? Fire hot.
I felt like you was about to freestyle right there. I wasn't sure.
Nah. I ain't got that. Nah,
All right, you can't stop the rain.
There it is.
You
There
can't
it is.
stop. I'm not a singer, but it's a vibe.
Yeah, for sure. Always.
Here we go.